All right, everyone. Kash Patel has come out, link in the description, archived, of course, and said that they're going to give imminently information to the U.S. public with regards to FBI involvement in the J6 riot. And I thought to myself, there are basically two ways that this can end. Because I would be very, very surprised if he came out and said, yeah, there were FBI assets there. Yeah, they riled people up. Oh, by the way, those pipe bombs, we probably made those too. Everyone forgets about that aspect of the story. I think this ends in one of two ways. Number one, they say that yes, there were FBI assets there in J6. But because there was nothing to do, because there were so many people, they effectively stood down and allowed it to happen. And it was a blatant oversight. Oh my God, we allowed people to enter a building. That's possibility number one, because Kash Patel, after the Epstein screed, I don't really trust him, to tell the truth. I'll tell you what really happened, of course. The FBI actively encouraged this to happen for obvious reasons. And Kash Patel is now he has the responsibility of making sure to cover it up. The FBI does this sort of shit all the time. So that's possibility number one, that they simply deflect. The number two possibility is that they come out and say, yes, we had FBI assets there, because they can't really deny that. There's too much footage. It's impossible. Yeah, we had assets there, sources on the ground. But they went rogue. And so they did this of their own accord. And then they'll throw several people under the bus, basically, and call it a day. One of these two things will almost certainly happen. I would be so surprised if they came clean. Because the FBI is not really good at that now, are they? Their track record has been a little bit spotty with telling the truth now, hasn't it? FBI agents can literally lie to you in the terms of questioning you. So be very careful if you're interacting with law enforcement, please. Unless you know that you are totally innocent or you're exceptionally charismatic, it's not a good idea to talk at all. Just ask for a lawyer. In terms of the FBI, uh, the problem is that the track record going back for multiple administrations has been lies and so forth. It's been dishonesty. So how can we trust even the current FBI director? I don't give a shit if Trump is the one that hired you. I'm going to vouch for you based on your actions and based on your words. I know that FBI agents were in the crowd that day. He says, well, it'll shock the American public. How would that be a shock? It wouldn't be a shock at all. The only shock you're going to give me is if an agent comes forth and says, yeah, we were commanded basically by the FBI leadership to stir up trouble. That would shock me. That would be shockingly honest from someone who is effectively nothing more than a licensed bureaucrat. I am not a huge fan of Kash Patel. You could probably tell that. Which is funny. Yeah, jokes aside, though, no, it was a messed up situation. The only people that died that specific day were people that were protesting, um, all of which were unarmed, I believe, if I remember correctly. And then, the legacy media could only talk about the cops that were injured and so forth. Well, you killed several people. You killed them after you let them into the goddamn building. You literally let them in to the U.S. Capitol. You didn't even bother to barricade it or defend it or anything like that. Yes, your lives were clearly in danger. That dude with the horns on his head is such a clear present danger to members of Congress. He's probably going to go over and just berate them. It's called a riot. It's not called an attempted revolution or a civil war, but that's what it's being cast off as. As far as Patel goes, are you actually going to release J6 FBI answers? I would say the answer is probably no. I would say he's coming out to, basically smooth things over with MAGA, which he's pissed off recently. So this could be a political move. You've pissed off most of core MAGA, and you realize that Big Don might not be a fan of that. Maybe you got a dressing down already. So you come on and say, no, 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 don't worry. We're going to get you answers on the J6 thing. Well, why don't you just release it now? I mean, you don't need to wait now, do you? It's not really necessary, is it? But he's going to wait. He'd be waiting for 1,000 years probably to get those answers. I have no faith in Kash Patel, particularly myself. It's possible. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being too cynical. I mean, I'm not trying to black pill anyone or anything like that. I'm actually quite white pilled. But maybe I'm wrong. And I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I'm hoping that I eat crow tomorrow and Cash Patel says, here's the documents. Yeah, there were 3 or 4 FBI agents that literally whipped the crowd into a frenzy. Okay, I will gladly eat crow as long as we get that disclosure. I'll take one for the team on that. But I suspect that I will not be eating crow tomorrow. I'll be eating something else. Salad or some shit, maybe a hamburger. I suspect that we're not going to get any closure on the J6 topic, even from the Trump administration. And there's another glaring problem. The FBI is really good at covering its tracks now, isn't it? They're well trained in destroying documents and digital documentation as well. Well, I mean, if they know that the Trump administration is coming in, what's the first thing you would do? What did the Nazis do, for example, when they understood that Berlin would be overrun and they had lost? They burned the documents. And so we don't even have documentation of a lot of what happened in World War II or at concentration camps or anything like that. What happens when any empire collapses? They destroy the documents. That's exactly what has happened with the Uniparty. The first thing that the FBI and every other agency did was cover up all their corruption because they knew that they were going to be come for. They knew that Trump was coming for them because he's pissed off because they came for him. So I guarantee a good 99% of all the incriminating evidence that could be found no longer exists at all. It was originally in triplicate. Now it's been burned in triplicate, so to speak. That's about all. Peace out.